Well, happy Turtle Box Tuesday. This is Ken. We are out in the shop today, and as I alluded to on the last Turtle Box Tuesday episode, we're going to pull back the curtain and show you how I put together a Turtle Box guitar. I gave you a hint last week, but I'm going to just, again, pull back the curtain and tell you what it is. I believe that this is the most important component of the Turtle Box guitar, and that is the foundation, the backbone, literal backbone and spine of the Turtle Box guitar, and that's the neck. Okay? So I have this long piece of wood here, and you can get this. I get it from Menards because it's all processed and cut to the sizes that I need. It's a 1x2, so that means it's 1 inch by 2 inches, and it's 8 feet long. So we're going to cut that down. We're going to measure it all up. But this is a 1x2. I get it at Menards, and you can get them in many different wood forms. You want a hardwood, so that includes your maples, your aspens, your poplar. Poplar is a popular neckwood for builders. I use mahogany, and I've also used hickory, which is another hardwood. But today we're going to work with maple, and maple's not a stranger to guitar necks. A lot of guitar necks, 6-string guitars, things like that are made of maple. It's a nice hardwood. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to show you what the next process is. I've got the wood, so we need to measure it out so we can get our calculation set. So the next segment, what I'm going to show you next, is measuring. Okay, this is one of my Turtle Box guitars. So we're going to measure, and it's a neck through. So the neck goes all the way through the body. Okay? But we're just going to deal with the neck today. We'll show you more about that in another episode. I'm going to try to get the glare out of here. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to measure out the headstock. You can see the headstock, and that's where the tuning pegs go. Then there's the nut. There's a nut on this one, or I use a 0 fret, which is just a bigger piece of fret wire. So the scale length goes from the nut, or 0 fret, to the bridge saddle. And that's the bridge saddle. Now, what the scale length does is it makes sure that all your tones match up. So like you have a fret marker here, it makes sure that that's the correct note you're hitting. Okay? So we'll explain more about that later. So that's what I'm going to show you today, how we measure that up. Okay, so here's our piece of wood. It's 8 foot long, but we know, just from the last example, that we're not going to have an 8 foot long neck. If you get an 8 foot long piece of wood, you should be able to get 2 guitars out of it. So, like I said, we're going to measure the headstock. And I pre-measured that for you right here. And what I like to do for a headstock, so I have room to play with, is make it 4 1/4 inches. So that's measured to about 4 1/4. That'll give me room for like spacing the tuning heads correctly, and also gives me room to shape, because some of my boxes have a squared off head, some of them are rounded, but for the most part they're rounded or squared. So this is 4 1/4, and right here is where the nut or 0 fret is going to go. So that's our next measurement. After we've measured the headstock to about 4 1/4, we are going to measure out the scale length. Now for this guitar, the scale length is going to be a 24-inch scale length. So, from the nut or 0 fret, your length to the bridge saddle is going to be how many inches? If you said 24, then you get a pat on the back and an attaboy for the day. So from the 0 fret or nut, we're going to go 24 inches down to the bridge saddle. Now, like I showed you on the other example of the guitar, the bridge saddle is where the strings go over into the tailpiece. Now, from there, that's how long our tailpiece is, from the bridge saddle to the tailpiece. So now that we have all the measurements, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to cut it off to length, and that'll be our length that we have to work with. I'll also show you how I determined how long my tailpiece will be, and because I'll introduce the box that we're going to use for that example. Okay, now I have cut to length our neck. So this is our neck for the guitar. Now, how did I determine how long the tailpiece is going to be? That right there is I took our box that we're going to use. We're going to use this Cuban box. It's an official Cuban box from Cuba. We're going to use that. And here's how I determine the length. I just laid the neck on the box and marked it off. That's where it's going to come out. And this is essentially how long it's going to be. So this is your guitar right here, okay? Now, what we're going to do in the next segment, in the next Turtle Box Tuesday, is we're going to do something to the neck that makes it look more like this, with the rounded edges and everything. We're going to do what's called shaping of the neck. We're going to carve out a notch so it can fit in the box, and we'll work on the box a little bit too. So this is basically the neck, the spine. Okay? Again, to review, this is the foundation of all Turtle Box guitars. We measured for the headstock, which will maintain the components of the tuning machines, and the 0 fret or nut, the scale length, which goes to this next mark, which will be inside the box, and then this will be poking out of the box right here, the tailpiece. So that's what we have for you today. Thanks for joining me for Turtle Box Tuesday. We will see you next week, and don't forget to tune in to the Kendemic, which happens every Friday at 6 o'clock on the Turtle Box Guitar Facebook page. Thanks a lot. Also, I'll try to work on the glare, and we will see you again. Happy Turtle Box Tuesday. Out.